Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic. I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated, and I have a great episode planned, of course, on the heels of the 2025 NBA playoffs kicking off today, day one of the playoffs. 4 game one, so a quadruple header was televised. Man, an amazing day for basketball fans. Almost like Christmas. You know what I mean? And we get a chance to live this over again tomorrow and then in the subsequent days. NBA playoff action. So a slate of games on today. I want to talk about those games and my takeaways from those games. This is going to be the typical video where I might go through an article or review highlights or anything like that. I just want to kind of take a look at the box score and talk about what I saw so that I can kind of stay true to this being about the takeaways. But before I dive into this content, do me a huge favor. Like the video. Liking the video helps us cruise along Algorithm Avenue, helps us get into the presence of individuals such as yourself who might be looking for this kind of content. And also subscribe to the channel. We're just a few subscribers away from achieving our first 500 subscriber milestone. So definitely, take this journey with us. It'll be a pleasure. But diving right into this content, I'm entitling today's episodes NBA Playoffs, Day 1, Game 1, Takeaways. And so, again, a full slate of games on today. I had a lot of fun, just literally just being glued, to the television to watch the games today. I wasn't disappointed with what I saw. What I thought I'd see today, I actually saw. So it was just really good to see it play out. And now I just kind of want to go into what I saw. And if you happen to see the game, maybe you'll agree. Maybe you'll disagree, but if you didn't see the games, you can just take this as the gospel. I ain't lying to you. You know what I'm saying? So first game I wanted to get into was the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, obviously, and the Indiana Pacers, actually, appeared in a struggle bus episode that I did earlier in the season. So I mentioned in my last video where I just talked about the playoff picture already being set that I was excited to see this particular matchup. And not just because they were both on the struggle bus, but they both started out the regular season, man, womp, womp, womp. They were just like so slow out the gate, couldn't seem to get right. And then they hit their stride, as time went on. So it was interesting and just good to see them, kind of find their footing and make it into the 4-5 slot in the Eastern Conference, which is where I predicted prior to the season even starting that they would both end up. But that notwithstanding, Dame Lillard's been out, because of the deep vein thrombosis or what have you. And it was announced a couple days ago that he was cleared to, I guess, return, right? So he's got to ramp himself back up. I didn't even do a video on it. I wanted to, but I'll just say so, like in this episode, I'm really concerned about, this clearance. And it's just because of the blood thinners. And, initially when it was announced that Wemby had, the similar issue. I think it was with his, ventricles or veins in his shoulders or somewhere. But they were saying that he was, just announced off the top that this dude was going to be out for the rest of the season. And so it just concerns me that, Dame would be diagnosed with the same, condition or same issue maybe a month after Wemby. And then he's going to play in the playoffs. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, health is much more important, man, than basketball. Now, while I want to see, Dame come back and join the Pacers, I don't want to see it to the detriment of his health long term. You know what I mean? And I would just hate for something to happen to him because whatever. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I just wanted to get that out. But to this game, so the Bucks are literally just a little short-handed, you know what I mean? Like relative to the Pacers are cranking on all cylinders, as relative to their personnel and the kind of team that they have, and they will put a fucking whooping on the Bucks today, 117-98, as you can see the score on the graphic here. They were just in control of this game the entire way, from start to finish, for the most part. and just kind of getting it however they wanted it on the court. You know what I mean? From, like I said, the full slate of their personnel as a team. They were just scoring from everywhere. And, essentially, man, Giannis just needed some help today. You know what I mean? Like, especially from those in the starting lineup. I want to get into the box score really quick. The box score doesn't tell the full story, but sometimes it can, help to tell a bit of the story. So as I mentioned, the Bucks put up 98 points today. They grabbed 41 rebounds, only dished out 15 assists, which I guess speaks to the low, amount of points that they scored as a team. When you have a bunch of just kind of ISO 101, kind of scenarios playing out, you don't get a lot of assists. It's just the science of basketball. And so they would shoot 41.7% from the field as well, and 24.3% from three. Man, look, this is the NBA. These are professional basketball players, and this is the playoffs. You know what I mean? So you expect that teams coming out, here in game one, both these teams managed to stay outside of play-in. So they've been kind of sitting, waiting for about a week or so, to get on the court and to, just get into some action. So there's, some rust to be expected. There's a bit of a filling out process in the playoffs. The playoffs is, they're set in series format for a reason. I like to say so. It's understandable, when the home team comes out and jumps on the road team. It's like that's to be expected. They get 2 games at home, then you take the 2 games to the road. So you're expected the whole court, so to speak. But just the way that it looked today, you're not going to beat any team here in the NBA, man, only shooting 41%. I mean, you'd be lucky to. You both would just have to shoot, horribly, you know what I mean, in order to bring home the victories that way. But 24.3% from three ain't going to get it either. Man, they shot 9 of 37 from three. That's a horrible outing. Giannis scored 36 points himself on 14 of 23 shooting from the field. 12 rebounds he grabbed, just 1 assist, as I said. But the 36 points obviously was just Giannis doing what Giannis does. If you can see in this graphic here, it might be a little difficult, so you may need to zoom in because it's kind of small based on how the screenshot was taken. But nobody in the starting lineup, aside from Giannis, scored in double figures in this game, which is incredibly concerning. They get 14 points off the bench from Gary Trent, Porter. KPJ chipped in 12, and Green chipped in 15. And so it's, again, Giannis needs some fucking help, bro. He can't do it by himself. You know what I mean? And I'm not certain that Dame, again, like when he'll be back, because he's been out for so long and because he was out with that vein, condition or vein diagnosis, that's something that you're not still working out and doing, like playing. He's not running he was on blood thinners and, you know what I mean, just kind of chilling and relaxing. And so I'm not sure how, the timing of him coming back or when he comes back, man, if that'll help. But he certainly could have used somebody's fucking help today. You know what I mean? So next graphic here, obviously, is the Indiana box score. Indiana, as I said, put up 117 points on 51.9% shooting from the field, 38.2% shooting from three. So they were just lighting it up. Again, I told you they were getting it however they wanted and shot at a very high level, almost 52%. They grabbed 43 rebounds and dished out 28 assists. So they almost dished out, 13, is the official number of assists. So they dished out more than the Bucks, but almost doubled them up in assists. You know what I mean? They were swinging the ball around the horn. They were sharing the ball. So a lot of motion in their offense, which obviously speaks to, the additional points that they were able to put up, the 19 more points to be specific. But the threes also tell a story because they just knocked in more threes than did the Bucks, but only 4 more threes than the Bucks. So, you know what I mean? Like that's a stretch of 12 points. And they only won by 19, so just an additional 7 points outside of the 3-point shooting. But it was more because they got just more people involved. So again, the Bucks had 3 players off the bench join Giannis in double figures, scoring, and the Pacers on the flip side of that only had 1 of their starters not scoring double figures, which was Nesmith. And so they have 4 starters in double figures and 2 more players in double figures on the bench. So that just kind of speaks to the balance is why I want to say the box score never really tells the full story if you don't watch the game. But you know what I mean? Like this box score is very telling of what happened. Pascal Siakam contributed 25 points in this game, 7 boards, 2 assists, 19 points for Miles Turner, who had a great game. From a scoring perspective, he was knocking down, trays and everything. Nembhard chipped in 17. Tyrese Halliburton, 10 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. So a Tyrese Halliburton kind of a game. I expected actually Tyrese Halliburton to be a more proficient scorer, but I think that he's settled into a role, especially after last season, where he's just like, man, I just kind of want to dish the rock and set my teammates up to, for us to be successful. I don't want to necessarily be the person that has to carry the load every night. And so that way he can just kind of pick and choose. But, I could be wrong about that, but that's just based on what I've seen this season and certainly what I saw in this game today. TJ McConnell chipped in 11 points also off the bench for the Pacers, and also Ben Mather. And Benny chipped in 13 points, 5 boards, and an assist as well. So, like I said, man, Indiana just beat the stuffing out of those, out the Bucks, man. It was crazy. So my biggest takeaway from this game is obviously, like I said, Giannis just needs some help, man. And if Giannis does not get help, obviously Giannis can't. He's not going to score. Well, I guess he would need to score that 250 points that LeBron James said he would score in the 70s, in order for them to win some games, in 2025. Because there's no way that he's going to beat the Indiana Pacers all by himself. You know what I mean? So I don't expect that. The other ancillary players from the Bucks won't show up in subsequent games here, but they definitely have to get it together, man. So let's see what Doc Rivers has in store for, the next game. But second game that we got a chance to preview today was the Denver Nuggets versus the LA Clippers. Apology, my eye is itching. 112-110 victory. The Denver Nuggets defeat the Clippers 112-110 in overtime. So we got our first, day of the playoffs and our first overtime game. Very, very good game between the Nuggets and the Clippers. Again, this was one of those series that I was excited to watch because I was just like, man, they're so, relatively kind of evenly matched to a degree in terms of the star power. But the Clippers essentially, obviously have a deeper bench, right? So I was thinking the edge will go to the Clippers maybe in this series because they'd be using their bench, but nah, bro, they only played 9 players today. You know what I mean? They went 9 deep here, and I know that the rotation tightens a bit in the playoffs, but I was kind of expecting them to keep some, fresh legs going at Denver throughout. Obviously, Denver's a different team when Jokic is on the court versus when he's not on the court, but I just kind of expected them to cycle in, as many of the fresh legs as they can. But they leaned on their starters. 22 points from Kawhi Leonard in the game, 21 points from Zubac, 21 points and 13 rebounds. Zubac played an incredible game, 32 points and 11 assists, with 6 rebounds to boot for James Harden. James Harden came out, lights out, man, 15 points in the first quarter, and he was a bit of foul trouble, hampered by foul trouble, but he played a very solid game. I was actually telling my friends in the group chat while the game was playing while the game was on, we were watching the game. I was like, man, when the game first started, I said, in order for the Clippers to steal game 1, man, they're going to need a big game from Harden. You know what I mean? And he came out the gate, firing. And so I was like, well, they're in a position to potentially steal this game. And they could have stole it. You know what I mean? They had an opportunity to. There's no reason why they did not steal the game, except they just looked a little lethargic. The rest of the team, I feel like, looked a little lethargic to me, especially like Kawhi didn't. I don't know, man. He's licking his lips. His lips are like chalk white in the crunch. He just looked. They just kind of looked out of sorts, I'll say. You know what I mean, to me. So 110 points the Clippers put up. They grabbed 44 rebounds. They shot 25 assists. And they shot 50% from the field and 36.4% from the 3 in this game. So, again, these numbers look good. They were in it to win it. You know what I mean? Typically, if you saw, these numbers by themselves, you'd be like, man, how they lose? And, well, let's take a look at Denver's numbers. And Denver, their numbers look relatively the same. They scored 112 points, obviously, grabbed 1 more rebound, 45 rebounds total for the team, and dished out 1 less assist with 24, and shot less, of a field goal percentage from the field. They shot 43.6, from the field, and 33.3% from three overall. And so Denver got a huge boost from Russell Westbrook down the stretch, which, this game is very personal for us, obviously, having been a Clipper, for a time. And so I feel like, man, he stepped up and played, remarkably. If you saw the game, if you watched the highlights, Russ stepped up and made some really big plays. He smoked a lot of layups going to the basket, I thought. Far too many for my liking, to be honest. I can count and remember like 5 layups that he had driving that he just missed. And I'm like, bro, can you finish? Like, what's wrong with Russ being able to finish? I know he's always been kind of, I don't know, like OC, like out of control going to the basket over the years. But now I'm just like, his finishing at the rim just fucking sucks, bro. It's bizarre. But Aaron Gordon, chipped in 25 points in this game. Jokic, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 12 assists. At one point, they said he had a triple-double, and then they took a rebound back. I'm not sure why they took a rebound back. That's really weird. But Jamal Murray, 21 points. He also grabbed 9 rebounds. Aaron Gordon grabbed 8 rebounds in the game as well. And Christian Braun chipped in 11 points, 15 points, as I said, for Westbrook off the bench, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. So, the Denver Nuggets, man, played, I think, as well as they could play, with the exception of Michael Porter Jr., who was the only starter to not score more than 3 points. And I'm not sure, and I said this in the group chat also with my buddies, that I don't really trust Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon, to be honest. And there's no knock on them. It's just that, man, they're just so fickle, so up and down. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm always wondering from one game to the next, like, well, what player are we going to get? You know what I mean, in this game? And I almost feel like Denver has to have both of them play in order to be successful, especially in the postseason. You need both of them playing well in the same game at the same time, not just like one on this game, one off. You know what I mean? Like, they both need to be playing well. And they escaped this game, which defies that as a logic, or, defies my statement. But in order to win in the playoffs, win a series, man, both those brothers are going to have to play well. And, MPJ played like trash today. He only shot 1 of 4 for sure, but he seemed out of sorts. As I said, about the Clippers, it's just his minutes on the court. He played 26 minutes, but it's almost seemed like he wasn't present. You know what I mean? Like, that was from what I observed. So my biggest takeaway from this series is that, or from this game, and projecting, deeper and toward the series, I think it's going to be a heater. You know what I mean? Like I was saying, so, and which, spoke to my excitement for seeing this game. But I think that this series will go 6 games. You know what I mean? Like 7 maybe. I was saying before, like, book it for 7. But you still have to, kind of factor in kind of what happens, from the role players on, the Denver Nuggets side. So if not, I think that the Clippers can win this series. And unless, those Aaron Gordons and Michael Porter Jr. show up and Jamal Murray plays well, then, the Clippers will take this one in 6. But if they play well, they may go 7 games. Then it can go either way. But they have to play well. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely have to play well because they don't have a bench. And so the next game was the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. I was incredibly excited to see this game because I feel like these teams definitely match up evenly. They're gritty. Detroit's a little young, and I typically don't like to subscribe to this whole notion of like, oh, this team is young. Oh, they're a little wet behind the ears. They don't really have the playoff experience, et cetera, et cetera. But man, if there was ever a time that this statement was shown and proven to be true, it was today. It was today. 123-112, the Knicks defeat the Detroit Pistons. But how did they do it? We'd see Detroit in control of this game for the most part. And going into the fourth quarter, they had a 98-90 lead. It was crazy. They were up by 8 points. The Knicks proceed to run off 21 straight points to start the fourth quarter. They went on a 21 to donut run, bro. I was like, this is, I mean, it was just unbelievable to watch. Now, when I say unbelievable to watch, not that I was disappointed. I'm looking, I'm like, the Knicks actually showed that New York grit. You know what I mean? That defensive personality. They stepped up and they just started playing tough D on these kids. And I mean, they just had them fumbling all over themselves. You know what I mean? Turnovers and bad shots. And I was like, that's the youth and inexperience showing up. It reared its head right there in that fourth quarter, man. So, you know, the playoffs is obviously all about being able to put it together for 4 quarters, not just get, 3 quarters in and then coast in the fourth like it's the regular season. You know what I mean? So those kids learned today. But a great game. Let's take a look at the box score. Detroit, again, like I said, put up 112 points. They grabbed 37 boards, 23 assists they dished out on 47.7% shooting from the field and 46.9%, 47% shooting likewise from three. They did everything that they needed to do in this game through 3 quarters to win it. This in the fourth quarter, they just fell apart. They literally fell apart, man. It was crazy. Beasley contributed 20 points off the bench for Detroit. And he shot 6 of 12 from three on his own. So, man, Malik Beasley was playing really, really good. Obviously, you know what I mean? Like the points that he was giving them off the bench, were timely. They helped him to kind of stretch the lead out and through the 3 quarters. And, unfortunately, he had some really, really good looks in the fourth quarter. He just missed. He was wide open on quite a few of those shots, and he just missed them. They just, rim starts to get smaller and smaller as the game goes on, and those legs start to get a little bit tired. So 21 points in the game for Cade Cunningham. Cade's game was a little lackluster. 21.6 rebounds, 12 assists. The stats look good. Yeah, I'm not saying that, but I mean, he had a very underwhelming, game today. And it was almost like, again, because of youth and inexperience, like the stage was too big for him or something. You know what I mean? He just seemed out of sorts. As a theme for this episode, he just didn't seem like he definitely didn't seem like the guy, you know what I mean, who was playing in the regular season just a few weeks ago. He just looked I don't know, man. So maybe there is something to that mystique of like, how psychologically he got himself into like,
Man, this the playoffs, bro, and I gotta play and perform much better. And
it just threw him off. Perhaps, I don't know. 19 points for Tim Hardaway Jr. You know what I mean? So he chipped in a lot of good shots. 3 of 8 from three. He clanked a whole bunch of them in the fourth quarter as well, as they just couldn't get it right. Amin Thompson, bunch of bad turnovers for this kid. Defensive posture just didn't really look like he was engaged defensively like he needed to be. Tobias Harris, man, had a huge game. He was helping him pretty much carry the load. 25 points in the game for him, 6 rebounds on 4 or 5 shooting from three. Yeah, Tobias was carrying the load, man, for the most part. And unfortunately, it was just too much New York down the stretch. So New York, as I said, put up 123 points. They grabbed 36 rebounds, dished out 26 assists on 52.7% shooting from the field, 38.5% shooting from three. It was all about the fourth quarter for the Knicks. All about the fourth quarter, man. Jalen Brunson did play an amazing game, though. 34 points for him, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, 23 points, 5 assists, and 11 rebounds in the game for Cat. OG Anunoby, man, came out the gate. I think he probably had about 15 points to start the first quarter or something like that, too. 19 points in the first. It was something crazy. But 23 points, 7 rebounds for him in the game. Mikal Bridges, very underwhelming. I was shocked. He shot 4 of 9 today. He was almost non-existent out there. He had a couple big shots in the fourth, like a couple shots that I guess they needed, but they were already in control of the game by that point. 13 points for Josh Hart, 6 assists and 7 rebounds. Josh got into a bit of foul trouble early on, so the team figured it out, and while Josh was on the court, he definitely was pivotal in a lot of those defensive stances that they took. So Josh Hart definitely contributes to that personality and that grit that this Knicks team carries, and it showed today. Campaign off the bench, shot 5 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from three, chipped in 14 points, and some very, very big shots, and one, a couple threes when they really needed it. I think Cam went on like an 8-0 run by himself at one point to help them get back into the game, and then to take the lead for good there in the fourth quarter. So he's definitely like a little spark plug for him. But that was that Knicks game, man. So my takeaway from this game, as I said, I was very excited to see this matchup, and I was very excited to see this series for all the reasons that I watched and that I observed today. Detroit again matches up very well with the Knicks, so I think that they can give the Knicks some problems, but they still need to be able to close out games, and so they're going to have to, much like they grew up really fast from being the worst team in the NBA last regular season, and then this season coming out to finish at number 6. I think Detroit's going to have to do a lot of growing up really fast in this playoffs. We saw them, go from being the worst team, in the Eastern Conference last season to this season growing up really fast and emerging as a number 6 seed, so avoiding play-in completely, which is indicative of their growth from one season to the next. Thanks to JB Bickerstaff and that coaching staff and his belief that he's instilled into those players, and also getting the most out of his personnel and utilizing them properly. But they're going to have to grow up really fast here in this playoffs. And you definitely have to, it doesn't matter whether regular season or the playoffs, but especially in the playoffs, you have to be able to close out games. You know what I mean? You can't just hope to coast through 3 quarters and, like coast through the fourth, rather, on what you did in the first 3. This just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? So I expected it to be a decent series. I'll just leave it at that. I won't make any like predictions as to how or when I think that the series is going to end. It's a little premature for that, but let's take a look at the other game that we got a chance to see. Last but not least, we got to see young Anthony Edwards' Minnesota Timberwolves square off against the LA Lucas, and man, quite frankly, Minnesota beat the shit out of the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like they were in control of this game from the outset. The Lakers, seem to be, riding obviously the coattail of Luka. They got off to a fast start, and they were, you know, they were in the lead. You know what I mean? But the game is a 4-quarter game. So you can't really hang your hat on much of what happens in the first quarter unless your team goes up 30, 40 points in the first quarter and just continues to keep their foot on your neck. But that wasn't what happened in this game. By second quarter, the Timberwolves were in full control, and they just continued to steamroll throughout. 117-95. I want to take a look at the box score here. Again, I think that the formula for beating the Lakers is clear, and it is, quite frankly, let Luka go off. Let him do whatever the fuck he wants to do. Let him score. You know what I mean? Like, let him score. We've seen this movie before. Let him score. As long as he's scoring, he's not distributing. He's not distributing the ball to anybody else. He's just scoring all the points. And well, he had 37 tonight, but 37 points solo ain't enough to win a game. 37 points, 8 rebounds for Luka, and 1 assist. Shocking stat for Luka. 1 assist tonight. 1 assist. I'm telling you, the formula for beating them is simple. 95 points that the Lakers put up as a team. They grabbed 38 rebounds. Only 15 assists as a team were dished out. 15 assists as a team. One of those was from Luka. You guys known for Luka to get 1 assist in a playoff game, especially like 1 assist all season. 1 assist. 1 assist. It's wild. Rest in peace to all the parlays that Luka killed today. But much like that Bucks game that I was talking about earlier, like you cannot hope to win a game when you're just playing a bunch of ISO ball and the shots aren't falling. You know what I'm saying? So if we're just in isolated situations and I'm done and I'm making them, then we got a chance to win. But if those shots ain't falling, and I'm not the only one ISO. Everybody's just ISO. We're not gonna win. We're not gonna win many games, bro. So 39.8% shooting from the field were the Lakers tonight, or did the Lakers shoot, and 36.6% from 3. So I mean, it's 15 of 41, man, from 3. You're not going to win many games jacking up 41 threes, only hitting 15, 36.6%. It's not that bad, Q. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you got to be able to stop somebody, too, right, on the other side. So the almost 37% shooting from three is not that bad. It's not abysmal. The 39.8% from the field is, though. You know what I mean? They shot 33 of 83 from the field as a team. Just horribly. Just horribly, horribly, horribly. And so, again, my biggest takeaway, from that is, man, Luka needs some help. But Luka can't get help when Luka's not dishing the rock because all Luka's doing is scoring. 16 points for Austin Reeves in the game. He had 2 points in the first half, just a lackluster 14 in the second half, really. 19 points total in the game for LeBron. He did not score a single point in the first quarter. Went on to finish with 19 points. Nobody else on the entire team was in double figures, aside from them where he chipped in 9 points, but everybody else was trash. It was ass tonight. It was ass. So JJ Redick and this coaching staff needs a better strategy than give Luka the ball and everybody else just stand around. Not gonna win any games in this series playing like that. None. Not playing like that. Let's take a look at the team on the opposing side. The team that dished out the ass whooping. The Minnesota Timberwolves scored 117 points, grabbed 44 rebounds, 29 assists that they dish out on 51.2% shooting from the field. 51.2% shooting from the field. They knocked in 44 of the 86 shots that they got up on 50 and shot 50% shooting from three. 50 from three. 21 of 42 from three. They were just in control of this game, man. You know what I mean? They were just literally in control of this game. They were getting their shots where they want them. They were distributing the rock, sharing the ball. They were having fun out there. You know what I mean? The contrast, perfect contrast of what the Lakers were doing and what Minnesota was doing was just that these boys were just having fun. They were sharing the ball. They were into, you know what I mean, a team-oriented game and not just a stand around and watch our star play. And that is indicative by Anthony Edwards himself, who only scored 22 points in the game, grabbed 8 rebounds and dished out 9 assists. Very mature game for Ant, even though he did get up 22 points, shot 8 of 22 from the field. I think he played a very mature game today. I was happy to see him, passing out of the double team, looking for the open man, actively trying to find his teammates. Like I said, indicative in the 9 assists that he was able to dish out. I think that playing that kind of a role and then being able to turn it up offensively when the team needs it is a much better play style for Ant in terms of being able to lead this team deeper in the playoffs. If he's got to go out here and score 40 points every single night in order for them to win, they're going to be just like the Lakers. It's not going to look good for them. But that notwithstanding, I think he played a very mature game in that sense today of just distributing the ball, being able to get the ball to the open man when he was getting doubled and stuff like that was really impressive to see. 23 points off the bench for Naz Reid, again, who played a great, game sustained from start to finish, our first half throughout, rather. 23 points, 5 rebounds for him on 8 of 12, shooting 6 of 9 from 3. Man, Naz Reid ain't that dude to be left, wide open. And I know that, like, they kept saying during the telecast, he's, the reigning sixth man of the year from last season. You know what I mean? So I don't know why teams still leave him wide open. Like, he's not the guy to be left wide open, especially not from the corner. You know what I mean? Like, the kid can shoot, man. So, again, biggest takeaway from this game in particular is that, again, man, the Lakers are who we thought they were. I didn't really think that there was a chance that Minnesota could not beat the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that it stands to reason that anybody in any of these series can be beat, especially, lower tier, right? From 2 through 8. We expect Oklahoma City to knock off, um, their opponent, but, the Lakers and Minnesota especially are evenly matched. These are just two, and not even evenly matched. I think that Minnesota actually has a better team top to bottom than does the Lakers. And I know most people are going to jump in my comments and maybe like, well, LeBron James being disrespectful. LeBron and Luka, ain't no way that they're better than them. Like, they are. And they proved it tonight. They're a better team. They have a better team, bro. They have a better team top to bottom than the Lakers. And so, in my estimation, and biggest takeaway from this game is that, and I know that teams, this is a chess, series, not a checker series. So game to game is about watching film, making adjustments. This is how the playoffs work. easy to just pronounce gloom and doom over a team after one game, 2 games, and be like, oh, they're gonna lose. I do not expect that Austin Reeves will, continue to wet the bed. I do expect some of these other players to contribute offensively. I do expect that, LeBron James will score more than 20 points at some point in the series, but I just don't think that it will be enough. I don't think that it will be enough, barring some kind of a catastrophic injury, you know what I mean, to the Minnesota Timberwolves, God forbid, knock on wood. We did see Anthony Edwards pull up a little lame. He had some cramping in his calf, which while he was back in the locker room being treated, the Lakers then went on a bit of a run to get back within striking distance. I think they were up 27 when Anthony Edwards left, to head to the locker room, and the Lakers went on a 10-0 run to cut the lead down to 17. So it is possible that they could beat Minnesota, but Anthony Edwards would not have. Has to not be in the picture in order for it to happen. So I think that as long as Anthony Edwards is out there, as long as he plays as mature as he did today, and as long as the team is functioning cohesively, just distributing the ball, and not necessarily being concerned about doing anything other than playing their role as individuals and just playing that role to the best of their ability, the Lakers can't fuck with them, bro. It's just it's not happening. So that's the basis of this episode. I want to thank you guys for taking a look at the episode itself. Like the video if you haven't done so already. I appreciate your time. And subscribe to the channel as well. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bring on day 2 of the NBA playoffs. I'll do a similar recap video or takeaways video after those games conclude on tomorrow, or depending on when you're seeing this, obviously later today. Happy Easter. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.